Go Buffs, baby.
Welcome on into SBS Basketball Live alongside Jake Chow. He's Matt Spivak, Aditya Mackham. I'm your host, Shane Holcomb, welcoming you guys into the 6th edition of SBS Basketball Live. As the regular season becomes crunch time here in Boulder, the Colorado women's team are continuing to be on the bubble for their NCAA tournament lives. And Jake, I want to start off with their 75-68 win against number 20 Texas Tech, trailing after the third quarter, but they got the job done once again, their third ranked win of the season.
Yeah, Colorado's found their identity, and it's coming at the perfect time. Here's an interesting number for you. Since Valentine's Day, Colorado has a plus 65 rebounding margin, the best in the nation. And they've really found ways to push the pace, get second chance points, even when they're not making their shots or have bad shooting nights. They're there, and specifically Anael Dutau with 32 boards, Jade Masagawa with 17. And it feels like they've really kind of figured out who they are this season, and they've really turned the ship around, especially in fourth quarters. I have this number here. They're 4-2 in games when trailing or tied going into the fourth in the last 10 games. Prior to that, just 1-5. And so Colorado's really turned the ship around and turned something that was a kryptonite to them into a powerful thing.
Especially in non-conference play early on, the games against Louisville, Texas A&M, where they struggled to close out games. It's becoming a strength for them now, too, so Jake, I'm happy you mentioned that. But Matt, the men's team got a very important win for them after coming off a loss against BYU. They beat Oklahoma State 83-69. Were super efficient, 20 assists on 28 field goal makes. Your initial reactions from a really good bounce-back win for the men?
Yeah, you talked about the offense, but what impressed me was the defensive effort and energy. Being able to play with that type of passion for true 40 minutes of the game is something the Buffs haven't been able to do consistently throughout the season. And they were able to hold the Cowboys to 0 of 10 from the field in the last 6 minutes of that game, holding them to just 33% in the second half. And a big stat was being able to hold their biggest offensive weapon, senior guard Anthony Roy. He was their leading scorer heading into the game. They held him to just 6 points and 0 of 7 from deep. That was a big factor in that one.
I mean, my first thought is, please, Tad Boyle, give Eliza this to anybody else on the team, preferably the freshmen Ian, Jalen, Isaiah, Alon, because they play with energy, something that Eliza doesn't seem to have, and maybe it's the D2 coming up, but he doesn't seem to, want to play for this team at this point.
Well, guys, Colorado men's went on a 20-2 run at one point in that first half, which really powered them to have that victory, because there was a moment there at the end of the first half and the start of the second half wasn't so great for them, but a vital win for them as they look towards getting better seeding in the Big 12 Conference Tournament bracket. But speaking of the Big 12 Conference Tournament bracket, Jake, the dilemma here for the women are that they are creeping up towards a top 4 seed, which is all important because that means they wouldn't have to play till Friday, double bye, i.e. immediately in the quarterfinals. They do control their own destiny, but do they secure a double bye, and do they finish out this next few games 2-0?
You mentioned it. They control their own destiny, and that is some huge major things on some finals tonight. If we put on our math caps a little bit, some tie-breaking scenarios. If Colorado beats BYU, they'll be in a 3-way tie between Texas Tech, the Buffs, and Oklahoma State. Colorado beat Texas Tech, so they already get jumped them, and then they split the series with Oklahoma State. The tie-breaking scenario in that case is, have they beat the number 1 seed in the Big 12, which is TCU? The Colorado Buffaloes can say yes. Oklahoma State can't. So they'll jump those 3 teams, get the 4 seed, and secure the double bye. They control their own destiny, just have to beat BYU on the road.
Yeah, I agree with Jake. I think they will be able to beat BYU, securing that 4 seed, as he just laid out all those tiebreaker scenarios for you. And that double bye really helps their chances in, progressing far in that Big 12 tournament.
I would say with the loss to Utah, it kind of disimproved their shot on an at-large bid for me at least. And as Jake, you mentioned, they do control their own destiny and they can still control their tiebreaker. but they need other teams to fall for them to jump. So I don't think they can. They'll get a top seed, but maybe just a 5th seed and not go to the quarterfinals right away.
Well, I appreciate I have some mathematicians on this desk tonight because you're moving with your hands kind of reminds me of that Doctor Strange, kind of like trying to figure out all the different equations and formulations. But it is confusing how that round robin works, I guess, with Texas Tech and Oklahoma State. But splitting the series and winning that game against the Cowgirls at home will come up maybe very huge when it's all said and done. But a team that won't be having a double bye, guys, in their conference tournament is the men. And they've been super inconsistent this season now, albeit they're probably going to squeak out their second win in a row tonight against a very bad Kansas State side. But that's progress. That's the first time they've won back-to-back games, though, since the first 2 in the Big 12 schedule. Matt, this team has had some opportunities, but they've been frustration. What have been your frustrations, though?
Yeah, I was just praising the team for the defensive job they did in their last game against Oklahoma State. But throughout the entirety of the season, that's really been where the Buffs have been lacking and unable to be consistent. Like I said, the true 40 minutes, being able to have that type of effort and just that want to play defense, to get in front of guys, to take charges, all that type of stuff. And remembering just like a single moment in that Oklahoma State game, giving up a buzzer beater 3 at the end of the second half, kind of just lackadaisical, getting man on the ball, just that can't happen. And that's just one example of ways that the Buffs can really improve on the defensive side of the ball.
I think if they could have locked in, for lack of words, they could have been on top of the Big 12. They almost took down BYU on the road with so many freshmen in this league playing at the top of their game. For me, it's a discipline. Nobody will be the defensive leader. We thought it was Felix at the beginning of the season, but it seems that the freshmen are showing more energy and they're diving on the ground when the veterans should be like, you guys should get on the ground and we'll make sure you follow that.
Yeah, well, in my frustration, I think, guys, have been going on the road, right? This team has just looked completely different. And other than the BYU game last weekend, they haven't really competed against a top 50 team in the net on the road this season so far. So hopefully they can make some kind of competitive game out of the one against Houston, which we'll get into a little bit later. That'd be tough against the number 5 team in the country, but I digress. Guys, there have been some seriously incredible Big 12 players this season on the men's side and the women's side. So separating a little bit away from the Boulder landscape, what is the best individual game performance in the conference last week? Jake, you got a lot of options. Where are you going with this one?
I have to go to TCU, the number 1 team in the Big 12, with Olivia Miles versus Iowa State. Man, she balled out and she proved why she's one of the best players in the country. 17, 3-2 in the fourth quarter alone. Finished with 26, 10-10 to upset. Not really upset, but against an Iowa State side that's pretty dang good. So Olivia Miles, absolutely electric player to watch. She came here to Boulder. She missed the game winner, luckily for the Buffs, but didn't miss against Iowa State.
Yeah, I got to go with AJ DeBonsta against a tough Iowa State team, one of the best teams in the Big 12, one of the best teams in the nation. He had a near triple-double, 29 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists, just 1 assist away from his second triple-double of the season. He played all 40 minutes of that game, shot 10 for 17 from the field super efficiently, and he also helped out on the defensive side of the ball, had a block, had a steal, really just an all-out performance by him.
For me, it's Anthony DeLorso for the Wildcats. With Koa-Pete being out for an indefinite amount of time, he carried the scoring against number 2 Houston at 22 points at 8 for 14 shooting. Pretty impressive, and Tommy Lloyd put the trust in him, and he carried on. The bad thing for the Wildcats is that he seems to tweak his ankle at the end of the game, so we'll see how that turns out.
And that's a guy, Ditsia, who's come off the bench a lot so far this season, but he was a big player and a really good Arizona team last year, but obviously he can really still ball out, and he's very big in their wins recently, like you mentioned. For me, I got to agree with you. DeBanza has been averaging 31 points and 8 rebounds over the last three games. Massachusetts native, Aditya, maybe. I mean, in a world where the Boston Celtics were bad, maybe he'd be going to them. But the Celtics are going to be pretty good. They want to have a lottery pick in this year's NBA draft. But it's been so fun watching all these guys. Kinston Flemings, Joshua Jefferson for Iowa State. Like, these players have Wooden Award potential written all over them. I think that's probably going to go to Cameron Boozer from Duke. Nonetheless, the Big 12 has shown out and maybe talking about the best men's basketball conference in the country right now with some of the best teams towards the top of the AP poll. But this is the kind of the segment that's been getting more interesting week by week, which is life on the bubble. And as the season has grown on, the men's team has not really become a part of this conversation, this segment, but it's a lot of fun to talk about the women's team because as every game comes and goes, Jake, it seems like their place inside or outside is changing. 44th in the net, Their last 4 in the most recent bracketologies across the nation. My one concern is that quad 1 record, 1-4. It would be nice to have one more of those quad 1 wins. But again, there's a couple of quad 2 games in there that are still really good wins. You talked about the Texas Tech game a couple nights ago. Iowa State is a quad 2 win right now. But when you look at that, is that an at-large worthy bid, in your opinion?
I believe so, but the committee has proven throughout the season that they really value the head-to-head and they really value recency. And so it worries me a little bit about the loss to Utah. I think that because of where Utah is on the bracketology and where Colorado is, Colorado will be the last team out and Utah will be the last team in. And so I'm a little worried about that because of the head-to-head. I still believe that if they beat BYU, win 2 games in the Big 12 tournament, they could absolutely strengthen their resume. So they're not done yet, but that Utah loss really hurts.
Yeah, the resume is kind of a tale of two halves for me. They have the 3 ranked wins, and then they have a 4-point loss against Baylor in Waco, Texas. In my opinion, that's almost kind of a resume booster, showing that you can compete on the road. But then, obviously, you have some games that you look at, the UCF loss, obviously the loss to Utah last night. So for me, it's just this team has to, like Jake said, make some noise in that tournament. Be able to win a game and, more importantly, not lose a game to an inferior team in the tournament.
Yeah, after the loss to the Utes, it's destiny for them. It's up to J.R. Payne's squad to, make a top 4 seed or hope one of the top 4 lose. And first 4 in for now, but they do really need to beat the Cougars by a good margin, especially since the road game, and they've not been proven in road games so far.
Yeah, well, recently, guys, Colorado has been an absolute demon at home in the C event. So I know they dropped that game against Utah last night, but they've been incredible at home all season, especially in Big 12 play. You look at the ranked wins at the time against Iowa State, Texas Tech a couple of nights ago. I think they've proven themselves to be one of the best 64 teams in the country. But the committee, they sometimes do what we don't really think they're going to do. So we'll see how that loss to Utah affects them. And I kind of want to get into that, Jake, because, again, this was their first loss versus an unranked opponent since the trip against to UCF, like Matt mentioned earlier. Just sloppy offense, though, for me. 34% from the field. They missed 12 layups. The final score was 66-64. They had an opportunity to tie the game late, but they threw the ball inbounds, and they couldn't really get in before they turned it over to end the game.
Yeah, I mean, on the record sheet, it's going to go as an L, and you can't ignore that. But I think the fact that Colorado hung around, they had an opportunity to tie it late, potentially win it, and they just kind of bobbled the ball down low with Jade Masagayo. It hurts, but I don't think that you should sound the alarm yet. Yes, the margin of error gets that much thinner, and it was already pretty dang thin. But I don't think you sound the alarm and say, oh, we're done, pack it up.
How does it affect them, Matt?
Yeah, it certainly doesn't help their hopes, and it makes the Big 12 tournament even more important and even more big of an opportunity of a resume booster for them to go in, show out, win a game, win a couple of games, be able to make it to that second, third round and go on the road and show what they can do competing with the best teams in this conference. That is what they need to do to secure that at-large bid.
I think it's not ended. It just makes it harder. It's just they should be looking at win and in at this point, and just look at the next game. Don't look too far, because that's how you get lost in the mess.
Well, how I see it, guys, is Utah is still a very comparable team in this Big 12 standings. And like you mentioned, Jake, they're a team that is also in the conversation for an at-large berth to the NCAA tournament. So I don't think this loss hurts them too much. Obviously, it's not great in retrospect, especially when you're comparing two teams that are very similar. Utah and Colorado, I would really enjoy it if they got the chance to have another rematch against them in the Big 12 conference tournament. But we'll see if things go their way. Again, a lot of basketball still have to be played, even though there's only one regular season game left for the women's team. But let's transition back over to the men's side, guys, because, again, this is a team that is going to have to run the table in the conference tournament to get a miraculous automatic berth to the NCAA tournament. But I want to pose the question to you guys because the offseason doesn't start to after the postseason ends when it comes to transfer portal and college basketball. So sometimes that's a deterrent in playing in other postseason tournaments like the NIT or the College Basketball Crown, which Colorado played in last year and lost in the first game. But, Matt, do you think that could be a valuable experience for this team, even if obviously their number one goal to get to the NCAA tournament is looking like less than a 0% chance right now?
No doubt. You want to take as much experience as you can get, and nothing better than playing real-time minutes against, someone of on a different team. You can practice as much as you want and play against your own guys as much as you want, but you can't get a feel for how your team's progressing, how you're developing until you square up against an opponent. And I think it's an opportunity for them to get some of the freshmen, especially the 7-footers like Leonardo Van Elswick and Fawaz Taco Ifawala. Those guys can be huge, especially boosting this Colorado's interior defense, which has been lacking all season in a very physical Big 12 conference.
I think they should opt in. It'll give the players more opportunity to play against high opponents, as you mentioned, Matt, with no effect on record. And who knows, maybe they make a run and win the tournament. And yeah, play the freshmen, test out lineups for next year, because you never know what's going to happen transfer-wise.
I think, play the little devil's advocate here, guys, and because again, as attractive as it is to play extra games, like with all due respect to the college basketball crown, it's the NIT. Like I think this team should really focus in on. Right as this last regular season game ends against U of A, whenever the season ends in that Big 12 conference tournament, go and watch the film, go and scout your guys for the transfer portal, because it's a team that's not only going to have to retain some talented freshmen, but also they need a lot of help, I think, both on the wing, shooting the free ball, and also, like you mentioned, interior defense. So I would personally decline the invitation, but again, there's a reason why I don't get a graphic on this show, because I have to be mostly neutral. I digress. So they did win against Kansas State. I don't think the game has gone final yet. I'm going to go on a limb and say that's a win tonight. Your first reaction to a Kansas State victory that was kind of a must-win, right, Matt?
Yeah, it definitely was a must-win. The bottom team in the conference, 2-12 so far in the Big 12. So far, watching that game, they started the second half on a huge 17-4 run, kind of almost putting the game out of reach at that point. In the first half, though, they held Kansas State to 39% from the field. Those are pretty good numbers as a defense. And then I want to highlight Ian Inman. The last I checked, he had tied his career high with 12 points. I'm not sure if he ended up breaking that, though.
With Jerome Tang being fired, Kansas State just seems to be falling and falling. And it's kind of pride at this point for both teams. And if Tad Boyle does happen to step down, we don't know what's going to happen there. I think he should still focus on coaching Isaiah until he gets drafted or transfers, because that's probably the most important project for Colorado right now.
Well, guys, I was talking about accepting an invitation to the NIT, the college basketball crown. If they lost that game against 2-12 in the Big 12 Kansas State tonight, I don't even know if those tournaments are calling them, and that's a low bar to set. But again, moving on, though, to our next segment. And this week's edition of Film Breakdown, Jake and I are going to talk a little bit about the women's win against Texas Tech. We'll be back on the other side with some game predictions. On to this week's edition of Film Breakdown alongside our women's beat writer, Jake Chow. We're going to talk about the women's team victory over number 20 Texas Tech on Saturday, 75-68, Jake. It wasn't without a fight, though. They were trailing head into the fourth quarter, but I wanted you to highlight a little bit of their offensive rebounding ability to create some second-chance possessions.
Yeah, Colorado's in a really good spot in the conference right now because of their offensive rebounding ability, and this clip will exactly show you why. So first off, Betson has it here up on the wing. She's going to go way down low to Masagayo, who draws in two defenders. Now, Masagayo can go a lot of different places here. She has Walker, Dutah, and Wooten, who's calling for the ball all the way on the other side. What Masagayo tries to do is squeeze it in. She kind of gets a poor pass, and Walker is able to pick it back up. But watch this. Walker kicks it back out to Betson, who resets the play. Go back down to Dutah, who's driving baseline now, and the ability to go up and watch 4 white jerseys right here, inside, right on the restricted area. That's Colorado's bread and butter. Watching them crash those boards and box out really well allows them to get second chance opportunities when they miss.
And Jake, that's right. And you mentioned the 4 Colorado Buffaloes. That's something, that clip that maybe the Texas Tech coach would be taking a look at their own film breakdown of this game. But Dutah's ability, she leads the conference in offensive rebounds per game this season. Again, creating second chance opportunities, especially in the third quarter where they really struggled. So they had to come from behind. You can see the score, what it was at halftime. But again, really want to highlight offensively Aniel Dutah's ability to create her own shot with a handle as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that takes us into this next play where Texas Tech here has the ball. And you're going to watch as Texas Tech ball handler drives in, and it's a great job on the man-to-man for the Buffaloes. You can see Walker takes away the corner shooter. Dutah takes away the corner shooter. Walker here on this side. Masagawa battling for position. And Betson here is a real anchor in this play because she takes away that pivot. So this, after she picks up her dribble, she can only go one spot. And I want to highlight the athleticism of Desiree Wooten. She knows that there's only one place for her to go. She can't go up towards the basket. She has to go out. and she's able to get the steal, get her hands on the ball, and her athleticism pushes the court for an easy layup for the Buffaloes.
And how many times have we seen that this season, right? Desiree Wooten get into those passing lanes. She's very good at turn the offense is over and then going the other way. Colorado really punished in Texas Tech in transition in this game. But in the next clip, we'll see a little bit more of the offensive sets.
So you can see here, as Utah puts it out to the wing, and they get back inside. Colorado loves to go inside, especially with their large kind of bread and butter with Masagayo. So Masagayo gets it in, and she here has 2 defenders on the zone. But I just want to highlight, before the ball has even left Masagayo's hand, look who's crashing. You have Logan Greer down here in the restricted area. You have Utah coming in from the free throw line, and Wooten already making a quick break. So you already have 4 white jerseys before the ball has even left Masagayo's hands. This shot does get blocked, but Wooten's athleticism, as we mentioned in the last clip, is able to push it back out, and the Buffaloes are able to reset. So Wooten, a great athletic play there, puts it back up. Now, getting late in the shot clock here, and Colorado, you can see Dutag cut there, loves to have this motion, kind of fool out defenders to see what they're doing as they try to create shots. So let this run here. Greer gets it now. And Wooten gets doubled here, and Texas Tech is doing a really good job on the defense, boxing out and kind of not allowing Colorado to penetrate. And so now there's only 3.8 on the shot clock, and there's not really much that Wooten can do. This is a great pass here from Wooten. She can see wide open Ziona Walker. With 2.8, I don't blame Walker. I would do the same thing in this position. She goes and opts for the shot. I would have liked her to go down low to Dutag, but she goes for the shot. It ended up getting blocked, but you can kind of see the way and the mindset of these Buffaloes is that, A, they're crashing boards looking for that second chances, and they play with a lot of high energy. Texas Tech defense just ended up being a little bit better on this play.
And Jake, we're talking about it earlier on the show, but again, teams highlighted in on Jade Masagayo because offensively, you mentioned earlier, she's their biggest weapon. And recently, especially against Utah last night, she struggled mightily getting into the paint, creating her own opportunity. But recently, teams have really been guarding that number 14. It's been opening up some other opportunities, though. You mentioned it. Ziona Walker has been better from three-point land. She just got blocked in that clip, but she was a big part of why they won that game.
Yeah, and it could go 50-50. It was just a great job from the defender to close it out. She could have easily hit that one and got it over the defender. But regardless, it brings us to the next play. So again, we're here in the fourth quarter. Big set here, about 5 minutes left. Tie game is the scenario. As Walker gets it now, Greer takes the shot. And again, I want to highlight the offensive rebounding for the Buffaloes if we just rewind this clip a little bit. Before Greer cocks the ball here, you can see Dutag's crashing, Masagayo's crashing, Walker's crashing, Wooten's about to crash, and it just goes to show that this is the bread and butter of this Buffalo's offense, is that they love to get those offensive rebounds and second chance points, and that was a huge key to success. So even though Greer misses it, guess who's there? Dutag, an easy putback too.
And Jake, you saw when that shot went up. Can you actually rewind that like just 2 seconds here? When Greer takes this three-pointer on the arc, you mentioned the Colorado Buffaloes are looking to crash the glass. The Texas Tech defenders, sorry, having some technology issues right here, but the Texas Tech defenders are just looking up at Greer. They're not looking to crash the ball, and she's already shooting the shot, so that doesn't really matter. But again, look at the eyes of Texas Tech. All of these eyes are on the player. They're not even guarding. These CU Buffs are looking to crash the glass here, and that's, again, why they created so many second chance opportunities in that game against Texas Tech. Yeah, and
Takes us right on to the end. Colorado really has a real chance this year because of their offensive rebounding, and I hope you guys can see why.
Well, we'll send it back to the desk here. We're having some little bit of technical issues, but thank you, Jake, once again for coming on this week's edition of Film Breakdown. Let's hear from the predictions now. Okay, well, the TV got turned off on that game, Film Breakdown, but again, thank you so much, Jake, for joining us on this week's edition. But what the TV is going to be turned on for, guys, there's some blockbuster games in the Big 12 this weekend. We're going to start with number 14, Kansas on the men's side, going to number 2, Arizona, Aditya Huya.
You got the Wildcats. Darren Peterson, even though he's not playing as much, you got Anthony DeLorso, Jaden Bradley, and Braden Burries. That's way too much for the Jayhawks, way too much for the Buffaloes at that point. But Kansas might look for revenge after getting upset by the Bearcats at home, so I take the Wildcats in this one.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a get-back game for Arizona after losing to the Kansas Jayhawks at Allen Fieldhouse earlier in the season. I think that was about 5 or 6 games ago. And this time it's in Tucson, Arizona. And Arizona's been looking scary. They just took down the number 5 seed, Houston Cougars. I got the Wildcats in this one.
Yeah, give me the Wildcats. I kind of echo what you guys said. They're in Tucson. They lost at Allen Fieldhouse. They're going to be looking for revenge on their home court. And give me the Wildcats.
Also, guys, Arizona beat that really good Houston team without Koa Pete. So especially when he comes back and returns, I think that's going to be a very volatile side, potentially a national championship team. It seems like Kansas is different every single game, but if I kind of get the sense of where this is going tonight on prediction-wise, we might have some similar takes, but I'm also going to hopefully try to dive in as well and talk a little bit about some other teams, but I digress. Number 16, Texas Tech goes to the aforementioned number 4, Iowa State Cyclones. Guys, Iowa State 15-0 at home this season. Aditya, does that continue?
Yeah, for sure. Unfortunately for Tech, the JT Toppin is out for the season with an ACL tear. Taman Lipsy and Milan Momcilovic playing at too high a level for the Red Raiders to even have a chance, let alone on the road in Ames, and they're not playing at home, so it's kind of over for them. So Iowa State.
Yeah, without JT Toppin, I think it's going to be hard for this Texas Tech team to really compete with a lot of the best teams in this conference like they were able to when they had him. He led their team in points, rebounds, steals, and blocks before he got injured. Really was their certified best player. And not to mention the games in Ames, Iowa, in the Cyclones' last 2 home games, they beat the number 4 seed Kansas Jayhawks and the number 5 seed Houston Cougars. Give me the Cyclones.
Yeah, I'll keep it right on down the line give me Iowa State. I think Texas Tech does keep it a little closer, even without JT Toppin. They beat Kansas State. I know, maybe the bottom basement of the conference, but they beat them handedly. You don't really beat a team by 20 points night in, night out, no matter who you're playing. So I think it was a little encouraging to me. I still take the Cyclones, but I think Texas Tech will keep it a little closer than we think.
Well, again, just to play a little bit of devil's advocate, guys, Texas Tech went on the road earlier this season and beat Arizona, who at the time was number 1 in the country, so maybe they can do it again against Iowa State, but obviously the loss of JT Toppin doesn't help out the Red Raiders going into Ames. But number 19 BYU, guys, this is a team, again, that beat Iowa State, but then last night lost to UCF all over the kind of place, but they've got arguably the best player in the country in AJ DeBansa. I talked about him a little bit earlier. They go to Morgantown, though. Never easy to play there. West Virginia, they were on the bubble a little bit, but they've lost their last 3 games, Aditya. Does that become 4?
Yeah, for sure. BYU is going to win. I mean, they upset the Cyclones, and even at 19, they're still 5th in the Big 12, which is very unfortunate for them. And if not for winning the Big 12, they have to strengthen their at-large bid somehow. And even with Saunders out with an ACL tear as well, Keba Keita has been stepping up and will play much better. So BYU.
Yeah, I have BYU taking this one as well. West Virginia recently lost to the Utah Utes, one of the worst teams in the Big 12, and I just don't see how this Mountaineers defense can hold up AJ DeBansa, so I got the Cougars.
Yeah, BYU's struggled against top-end teams, and they've kind of beat everyone it feels like they should have beat, and West Virginia's a team that I think they should beat, and I think they will.
Well, guys, Colorado men's basketball is going on the road to number 5 Houston this weekend. They have not won on the road since the conference opener against Arizona State. So let's talk about that one because, again, the last time these teams played was in the Big 12 tournament last season. Aditya, Houston's only loss at home all year came last weekend versus U of A. Does it become 2 losses in a row at home, or does CU play like they usually play on the road?
I think Kelvin Sampson might do bad stuff to his team if they lose 2 more in a row.
Especially against Colorado.
Yeah, I mean,
with all due respect.
Kingston Fleming is one of the most impressive freshmen in the Big 12, if not the nation. Yeah, if they're gonna lose to us, they gotta rethink the program at that point. And I will commit to dyeing my hair red if we lose to Houston.
Okay. Did you guys take that in the back room? I hope you guys did because I look forward to that. I will personally dye your hair when I come back from the women's sport.
Yes.
I look forward to that. Matt, who you got?
Yeah, I got Houston in this one. It's a really tough matchup for Colorado. Houston's lost 3 straight games, all against ranked opponents. This is really a get-right game for them and against a Colorado squad who has struggled defensively and just hasn't been able to be consistent throughout. And then one stat for you, Colorado is 0-5 this season against ranked opponents. That doesn't change.
Yeah, I have Houston taking this one as well. I think they dunk on a poor Buffs team, especially after losing 3 in a row. I think that Houston regroups before March. I mean, they've made the Sweet 16 every year since 2019 outside the COVID year. Give me Houston.
Yeah, and guys, Colorado, again, this game, while it's very important, I think more or less important was winning against Kansas State tonight. So, again, even if they don't pick up that win against Houston, winning back-to-back games was really big for the CU Buffs team before they go on a stretch where they play number 5 Houston and number 2 U of A all in the span of 1 week. So, yeah, get into our primetime matchup here, though, guys. The Colorado women's team goes on the road for their season finale against BYU. Jake, a team they beat by 30 2 weeks ago. Is this a must-win for Colorado, and do they get the job done?
I do think it is a must-win. I mean, March kind of is on the line at this point. Maybe they can get the automatic qualifying if they win the Big 12. Colorado's absolutely talented enough to do that. Regardless, you don't want to bank on winning the Big 12 tournament against some of the best teams in the nation in TCU, Baylor, West Virginia. I do think that they do beat BYU. They won by 30, as you mentioned, here in Boulder. In Provo, BYU will be a little scrappy, I'm sure, and they have a good home crowd. I still feel confident in the Buffs' abilities to rebound and hit their shots when it matters.
If I'm not mistaken, this is probably the second week you said, Shane, that we are going to agree on our picks. Colorado takes the win, bolstering their at-large bid resume. If not winning the Big 12 tourney, they have to still prove they can win on the road, and Provo is still a hard place to win at. And they could have ended the season on a 7-game winning streak, but they did unfortunately lose to Utah. But the Buffs still take the win at the end of the season.
Yeah, I'm going to stay on the same path there. I got Colorado winning. You guys mentioned Provo's a little bit of a hard place to play. I think BYU struggles a little bit at home, though. They have lost 4 conference games at home in Provo this season, and Colorado should definitely be hungry coming into the last game of the season after the loss to Utah. And I think J.R. Payne does a good job of getting her squad motivated for the last game of the season heading into the Big 12 tournament.
Well, guys, the next time we'll be coming to you live from Boulder will be after the women's regular season ends, so they'll know their seed. If they get a double bye, it was a big conversation on this show tonight. But if J.R. Payne's team gets the job done, they might not play till next Thursday or Friday, maybe even, in the Big 12 quarterfinals. But that's going to do it all for us here on SBS Basketball Live, alongside Matt Spivak, Aditya Maycomb, and Jake Chow. I'm Shane Holcomb saying good night, Boulder.